Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to crochet the Everyday Drop Hanging Basket, which is a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com. As you can see, it's a great small size for keeping track of your everyday items like keys, gloves, a wallet, things that you tend to misplace. It's got a great big loop here at the top that you can adjust for your size, but you can hang it up wherever it's handy. So let's get started. To make the Everyday Drop Hanging Basket, you need about 50 yards of yarn, and I used Bernat Future Inspire, which has over 100 yards per skein, meaning you can get 2 baskets out of 1 skein of this yarn. The color I happen to have is Slated. You also need a 9mm crochet hook. This one is by Furls. It's also always a great idea to have a couple of stitch markers handy. Here you can see the finished basket. We start right back here with a circle and work our way out. So this is made all in one piece. There is one turn that you'll want to watch for. We work all the way up to the top until we add this hanging loop. And again, you can make this loop as big or as small as you need to fit your space. Let's get started. To begin your basket, we start by making a magic circle. To do that, I'm going to take my non-hook hand and go over the first finger twice towards me, just like that. Then I insert my hook under both of those loops, grab the one that's furthest back and pull it just under the other one. Then I yarn over and pull through, and now I'm ready to start stitching. Every time you stitch into a magic circle, make sure you go into the circle itself and that you trap that little tail end inside your stitches. Once you've got the magic circle made, we chain 1, and then we half double crochet 10 times in the ring. So I always like to put the first stitch in here before I make the rest. And, well, of course, but also before I take my finger out. You can see once I start putting that stitch in there, the circle stays open really nicely. Now that I've made the first stitch, I'm going to take a stitch marker and put it right in that stitch. I will also put a stitch marker in the last stitch of each round so that I don't lose my place as I come back around for the next round. So there's our first half double crochet. I need to add 9 more. Once you've worked 10 half double crochets into the ring, again, making sure to trap that little tail end inside every stitch, then you can pull down on the tail end to close up the ring. Make sure that when you weave in this end, you weave it back and forth in both directions. Then we're ready for round 2. But one more thing, I almost forgot, we do need to close with a slip stitch. I just like to pull on that tail end before I do that. Now, before I finish that slip stitch, I'm going to go ahead and put a stitch marker right in the last stitch of the round as well. This will keep me from accidentally working into the slip stitch later. Now, this pattern will have some unique moves involving that slip stitch later, but for now, it's just a slip stitch. For round 2, and the next couple rounds after that, we're essentially just working in a flat circle. So for round 2, our standard increase for a flat circle, we chain 1, and then work 2 half double crochets in each stitch around, for a total of 20 stitches. So here we are at the end of round 2. Round 3, we continue our flat circle with a standard increase, which means we chain 1, half double crochet in the first stitch. Let's move that stitch marker on up. And then we work 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. And that's our repeat for round 3. 1 in the next stitch, 2 in the stitch after that. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, all the way around until you have a total of 30 stitches. Now, for the sake of time, I've skipped round 3, and we're just going to talk through the beginning of round 4. For round 4, another flat circle round, we chain 1, work 2 half double crochets in the first stitch. So there's 1 and 2, and then half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. 1 and 1. And that's our repeat for round 4. 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, all the way around for a total of 40 stitches. I will see you when we're ready to finish up round 4. So once again, for the sake of time, we're going to pretend I've just finished round 4. So it would be just a little bit bigger, and it would have 40 stitches in it. Just like the previous rounds, we join with a slip stitch, but then at the end of round 4, we turn, and we're going to work the rest of the project from this side of the work. We do this so that we get the beautiful right side of our stitches on the outside of our basket, and we have this on the inside of our basket. So This is where having those stitch markers is going to be particularly useful. Let me turn it back around. Here you can see we were working from this side before. I've made my slip stitch, and that's right there. I've got my first stitch marked and my last stitch marked. When I turn to work back the other direction, if you didn't know, you would think that's the first stitch right there, but it's the slip stitch. So we need to actually skip it to work into the next stitch right here. That said, that's the usual method. This pattern, we're going to treat that slip stitch a little bit differently. Starting here in round 5, we are going to work into the slip stitch. This is not a standard way to handle slip stitches in crochet, but for this particular pattern, it gives us a really great opportunity to center our increases and keep our seam straight up through the top of our basket. So we're going to put it to use. So when you make round 5, we start with our chain of 1. And again, make sure you've turned your work so that little tail should be hanging out right in front of you now. Then we're going to half double crochet right into the slip stitch. So if you need to go back and take it out and make it a little bit looser, you can do that. It was just the stitch you did right before this. But put that first half double crochet right into that slip stitch itself. So I'm going to go ahead and move that stitch marker on up to this new first stitch of the round, and then simply continue to half double crochet in each stitch around to finish up round 5. When we get to the end, we join with a slip stitch again. All right, so here I've been working evenly all the way around for round 5. And you can see because we're not increasing anymore, the basket wants to cup up a little bit, and that's totally fine. That's a great thing. So I have half double crocheted in each remaining stitch around, but we've got a couple of more things we need to do before we finish up round 5. We're going to half double crochet into the slip stitch again. So that means we're going to go right. We can see right where that first stitch has worked and go right in that same space. And then instead of joining with a slip stitch like we've been doing previously, we're going to join to the first stitch with a single crochet. So what that does is it creates a chain 1 space, whereas if we could chain 1 and join with a slip stitch, but by doing it with a single crochet instead, our hook lands back in the middle of the space rather than off to the side. So how does that look? We take our hook, we go right into that first stitch. Might need to pull out that stitch marker first. Mine wants to be in the way today. There we go. We go right into that first stitch, yarn over and pull up our loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2 to finish the single crochet. So if I pull the stitches apart here a little bit, it's a little harder to see here, but we've got basically a chain 1 space right here. Let's see, I was pulling the wrong spot. You really have to look for it a little bit. But look for that chain 1 space that's created by the single crochet. You can see I really kind of had to dig for it. Let's take that single crochet out again so we can look for it. Here's our last stitch. We can go ahead, move that stitch marker on over. It's our new last stitch of the round here. This is our first stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. And we look for that chain 1 space right there. Don't be afraid to manhandle the yarn. This yarn can take it. Look for, there's our single crochet. There's the last half double crochet and the first half double crochet. So that is how we finish round 5. Round 6 is going to begin pretty much the same way. We chain 1. Now we're going to half double crochet right in that chain 1 space. So I recommend go ahead and pull it apart, give yourself some space. So you can go right on in there and put that first half double crochet of round 6 in the chain 1 space created by that single crochet. Now I'm going to go ahead and mark that stitch. And then once again, we start out by half double crocheting in each remaining stitch around. So here I am again, almost done with round 6 this time. Once again, when we get to the end and we've half double crocheted in each stitch, we're going to come back and put another half double crochet in that chain 1 space. That's a little easier to find now that we've already got a stitch in it. So I'll go ahead and put my second half double crochet in that space, and then I will go ahead and mark that as my last half double crochet of the round. And now, once again, I'm going to join with a single crochet. So if you have a lot of trouble finding the space there, go ahead and grab a third stitch marker here, and a little trick, we're going to put it right around our working yarn and the top of our loop here, and then we'll make our single crochet in that first stitch for our join here. There we go. And you can see now that stitch marker is marking right for us where we want to go as we begin round 7. Now in round 7, we're actually going to begin some decreases to start gathering up the front of our basket. So I've been crocheting from this side. You can see our tail here. This is going to go back against the wall when our finished basket is hanging. So now you can see we're coming in to start gathering up so that our basket will actually hold things. So round 7 starts the same way. We chain 1 again and half double crochet in that chain space. You can see how having that stitch marker right there makes it a lot easier to find. So we'll put that right in that space like so. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and just leave that stitch marker hanging out there so that when I come back around, I know exactly where that chain 1 space is. But I am going to steal this stitch marker right here and put it in the top of this new first stitch for round 7. So now, obviously, I have a much smaller sample here, so I don't have quite as many stitches to work with, but we can still work through a lot of this and talk through it together. After you've half double crocheted in the chain 1 space, you're going to half double crochet in the next 10 stitches. So you'll want to count out all the way to 10 here. On our little sample, I think I'll do about 5. After you've half double crocheted in those next 10 stitches, you're going to half double crochet 2 together. And I like to do a half double crochet 2 together that maybe isn't the most standard way to do it, but I do think gives it a much nicer finished result. We're going to yarn over and go right into the next stitch and pull up a loop. Then, instead of yarning over again, we're going to go straight into the next stitch and pull up a loop. So now with 4 loops on our hook, we'll yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. A standard one would have you yarn over again before going into the second stitch, which puts 5 loops on the hook, and I think just makes it a little bit too bulky. And I think this one substitutes just as well, if not a whole lot better. After that, our repeat that we do twice is half double crochet in the next 9 stitches, then half double crochet 2 together again. Half double crochet in the next 9, half double crochet 2 together again. Then we half double crochet in the last 10 stitches, and then we address the top. So I'm going to work my way around and we'll meet back up here at the end of round 7. So you can see here on round 7 how this really gathers the front of our basket together, but I'm not quite done yet. Once again, when we get to the end, we're going to half double crochet in that same chain 1 space again. And again, I can use that stitch marker to help me find it with ease. Oop, there we go. Of course, then I catch the stitch marker in my stitch. Now, once we've stitched into that chain 1 space again, we can take that stitch marker out of the way. But once again, here at the end of round 7, we're going to join with a single crochet. So I want to take that stitch marker again. I want to make sure I mark that last stitch of the round, that last half double crochet. Take our third stitch marker, put it around the working yarn and around both of those loops of our active loop. See right there? I just go right all the way around all 3. Put my hook back in. Oh, I think I caught some of the yarn in there. Let me get that tightened back up. There we go. Put that around our loops. There we go. All right, now we're all set up. Once again here for round 7, for our last time, we're going to join with our single crochet. Like so. And now we're all set up for round 8. Round 8 is a lot like round 7. We half double crochet in the first several stitches, then half double crochet 2 together. In fact, our count is half double crochet in the chain space, and then 3 times we'll half double crochet in the next 9 stitches, and then half double crochet 2 together. Then we wrap it up by half double crocheting in the last 10 stitches, half double crochet in that chain 1 space again, and then we have a very unique join. I'll show you how that works. So as you finish up round 8 and you've half double crocheted in all those stitches and made your 3 decreases, you'll come back around and half double crochet again in that chain 1 space. But then instead of joining with a single crochet, we are going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And now we're going to join with a treble crochet. What this does, let me yarn over twice here. What this does is create the size of our hanging loop. I wanted a decent sized loop on mine, but nothing too big. By chaining 3 and then treble crocheting into the first stitch, you can see really easily, much easier than we could see with our single crochets, how this lands our hook back in the center of our loop or our chain space. So we're calling this a chain 6, 3 and 3. So why am I going into details? Because you can change the size of your loop to fit your needs. Think about where you want to hang that basket. Do you want it to be on a tiny hook? You might not want such a big loop. Maybe you're only going to chain 1 and join with a double crochet. That's another option. Or chain 2 and join with a double crochet. Try it out. See what works to create the loop size you need. If you need something much bigger, say to fit over a standard twisty doorknob, then chain about half of what you need to get around your doorknob, and then make as many yarn overs and work the same stitch on the other side. Whatever it is, this is how we create the size of that loop. So you can use your stitches and get creative. I chained 3, so I yarned over twice to create a stitch of the same height on the other side. That is how we finish up round 8. And now we're ready for round 9, which is the last round of our basket. Now, if you've adjusted the size of your loop, you may need to adjust the number of single crochets you make right here. What we want to do is just make enough single crochets working right into this chain 6 loop now, or however many chains yours would represent, depending on the size of your loop. We want to work enough single crochets in here basically just to cover it up nicely. For me, I found that was 4. You may need to add 1 or subtract 1 depending on your gauge and if you've substituted the yarn. There we go. So I find 4 single crochet covers up that half of it really nicely. Then we're back to crocheting into our basket and we're going to switch back to half double crochets. So I'll get this stitch marker out of the way and we half double crochet in the next 10 stitches. Again, I have a much smaller little sample here, so I'm just going to go with 5. So after you've worked 4 single crochets in the first half of your chain 6 space, half double crochet in the next 10, then we half double crochet 2 together 11 times. Brings us around so that we can do half double crochet in the last 10 and finish up our loop. So once again, to do those half double crochets, we yarn over, go into the next stitch and pull up a loop, and then go right into the next stitch and pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through all 4. So continuing doing that around until we can half double crochet in those last 10 stitches. So after you've made those decreases and then half double crocheted in the next set of stitches, we come right back to our chain 6 space. And we want to finish it off the same way we began. So we'll put 4 single crochets right around what was now my chain 3. So again, whatever number of single crochets you worked on the other side, you should work the same number on this side. When we get to the top, we can break our yarn. And then we'll want to grab a yarn needle. And what I like to do is go ahead and just pull up on the working yarn with my hook. We can take the end of our yarn and put it on our yarn needle. Make sure it's a big needle since this is a super bulky yarn. And then once we've got the yarn on the needle, we can go ahead and do what I like to call a seamless join. I'm going to insert my needle right under the top 2 loops of the first stitch. I'll go ahead and get that stitch marker out of the way and pull that through. And then I'm just going to send my needle right back into the same place it came from. If I pull it out, you can see right there is where my yarn is coming from in the last stitch. And I want to insert my needle right in the same place. I usually send it through another loop underneath as well, just to give it a little extra stability. And then I can just gently pull down on that loop and sort of zhuzh it, pull it around until I like the way it looks. And it's the same size as the tops of the other stitches. Then what I like to do, just to secure it a little bit more, is come back through the stitch next to it, which brings my yarn to the wrong side of my work, which we can tell because we've still got our first tail hanging out there. And then I can just go ahead and weave in my ends, and you'll have a finished little basket. And that's how to crochet the Everyday Drop Hanging Basket. Remember, that's a free pattern you can get on mooglyblog.com. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.